The skin's immune system is very important to not just protecting the skin from losing water, but it also protects invaders from entering because the skin's immune system has these cells that are called Langerhans cells. And what happens is when there is any sort of disbalance in the skin, they retreat. That's why they're called chicken cells. And in their place, melanocytes, which produce pigment, come in to protect the skin. And this is one of the reasons why hyperpigmentation will also form when there's dysbiosis in that skin barrier. So I always recommend.
Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. Hey there, welcome back to another episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn, of course, with you every week, as you know. But seriously, I could not be more excited for today's guest. So some of you know this, but in my practice with clients, in my webinars and workshops, we often talk about beauty from the inside out. And you may not realize this, but your skin is your largest organ. So everything happening inside the body can manifest in the skin. And even before I knew about all the health stuff, I was a makeup junkie and then a skincare snob. So people would always ask me questions about skincare, like products, ingredients, recommendations, all the things. And so we are finally tackling it on today's episode with the perfect guest. So as a cosmetic dermatology nurse, beauty biohacker, and health educator with over 15 years of experience in the fields of aesthetics, dermatology, and precision beauty, she brings a personalized and whole being approach to optimal aging. Skin health regimes are influenced by our genes, lifestyle, systems health, dietary choices, and emotional well-being. To reveal the unique bio-individual beauty potential within us, she crafts bespoke anti-aging blueprints that are inspired by you, not industry trends. The future of beauty isn't a magic elixir that stops aging dead in its tracks, but rather a deep exploration of the fundamental anti-aging needs of the individual. She works with each client to develop intentional routines that guide optimal aging for a lifetime. So you totally understand why she is the perfect guest for us. So please help me welcome Natasa Billeci.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on today. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited for us to chat.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on Salad with a Side of Fries. It's been a couple months since last we spoke. How have you been?
Excellent. Just making a little bit of a transition, like a lot of New Yorkers, and made my way down to the beautiful Miami. So, looking forward to building a fabulous practice down here and just continuing on with my education and school, and looking forward to just educating others and being on fabulous podcasts like yours and doing what I can to help guide the masses to beautiful, ageless skin.
Awesome. I love it so much. And we're going to jump right in super quick. Before we do, I want to let our members know what they're getting this week. So first, guys, you're getting 2 recipes because I just couldn't help myself. So the first is for spicy Moroccan chickpea and lentil soup to help us get more plant-forward options in our back pocket. And in honor of today's nutrition nugget, and the topic of skin health, you're getting a healthier creamed spinach recipe, which is made with Greek yogurt, actually. And this month is also your quarterly live Q&A session, which is a one-on-one, so you have your link to schedule that if you haven't already. So if you're thinking this would be a good one for you, you're not alone. We have people joining the membership every single week. It's never too late, and you really do earn your money back every month. So here's how you do it. Go to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries. For $10 a month, you get weekly recipes, a monthly article or tool, extra discounts from me and our partners, plus access to live Q&A sessions. Seriously, a no-brainer. Show yourself that your health is a priority with this membership. Plus, you support this podcast and this community so we can continue bringing you new episodes and experts every single week. So remember, head to glow.fm youtube.com/salad with a side of fries, or forget remembering the URL, click the show notes. I'm going to give you a second to do it right now. So there's a clickable link in the show notes. Do this only if you're not driving, right? Then click support now, type your email, enter your payment method or use Apple Pay because that keeps it simple, and then click subscribe. You're all set. You'll get this week's recipes for the spicy Moroccan chickpea and lentil soup, the healthier creamed spinach, and the link to schedule your one-on-one session for the quarter. Okay, Natasha. So walk us through your story, because I think you really came to discover the connection between our insides and our outsides, if you will. And, you studied functional medicine, but that's pretty unusual for the dermatology world.
Absolutely. My journey started off as a beauty counter girl selling Lancome cosmetics when I was in my early 20s, and it helped get me through college. And in that process, I began to dig a little more into the chemistry and the biology and the science behind skincare. So as I progressed through my career, I got into plastic surgery, aesthetics, and then started to dig a little deeper into dermatology. In my late 20s, I started to develop a lot of pigmentation on my skin. And, I went in and I had all these laser treatments and I did all these topical treatments, but nothing seemed to correct the issue. And I wanted to dig a little bit deeper. And so I discovered that I actually had an undiagnosed thyroid disorder. I had also historically taken birth control. And as I continued my journey in fixing my own skin, I found the connection between thyroid and hormone disorders and the use of birth control, and how that really powerfully impacts your skin health and how that contributed to this pigmentation formation. On top of the fact that like many, I was a sun worshiper when I was a young gal, always bronzed and beautiful, but I paid the price very heavily in my late 20s and 30s, taking a look at everything that manifested. So in that process too, I decided to get into a bit more of the functional aspects of skin health. And so that led me to start studying functional medicine and begin to really understand that deep underlying connection, and why, to your point, and really the topic of our conversation today is understanding how we have to tackle skin health from both an internal and an external manner in order to actually heal it.
Yeah. And so let's talk about this for a second. So for you, the connection between pigmentation and hormones, what else are we not realizing are like the skin conditions that people tend to treat topically, but are really, stemming from internal congestion, for lack of a better word?
It's, acne and rosacea, and acne is the big one because acne is a chronic inflammatory condition, and we forget that. So we go into the dermatologist and we get all these topical prescriptions of these really aggressive products, but we're never addressing the root cause. And that's one of the fundamentals of healing any of these skin conditions such as rosacea or acne, and acne in particular. Any of my acne patients that begin a program with me, we are digging really deep into the dietary component. So we're focusing on a low inflammation diet, and we're also focusing on systems of elimination. So that means that the liver and the kidney need to be in optimal function. We need to make sure that the gut is balanced. We know through research and science and data that these systems are very deeply connected to our skin health, and particularly in the case of acne. So I think that acne is really probably the prime condition topically that we see, that's
Yeah.
always treated with topical products, but really should take a more holistic approach and really tackle some of the underlying root cause issues.
And rosacea too, even aging. Like I see a lot of aging with dehydration.
Oh, yes. Dehydration, and all of my patients will tell you this. I am like always yelling about water intake. I'm always yelling about taking that water into your body. If you are someone who drinks coffee, the rule is this: every 1 cup of coffee should be 1 cup of water to make sure that you're managing that dehydration. Alcohol consumption and COVID really, I think, made the liquor stores very wealthy. um, if you're drinking any type of alcohol, the rule is going to be for that 1 glass of wine, for that 1 beer, for that 1 cocktail, it's going to be 2 glasses of water to make sure that we're mitigating any potential for dehydration. So that's the internal. The external is regardless of what skin condition you have, whether we're talking acne, rosacea, pigment, fine lines, wrinkles, you must use topical hydration that's appropriate for your skin. For some people like myself with a genetic predisposition for dry skin, I have to use multiple layers of topical hydration as well as really concentrating on my water intake to ensure that my skin is nice and bouncy and juicy.
Yes. Oh, I love that we're talking about this because it's so we'll talk about this more when we in a minute, but like oil and hydration are not the same thing.
Correct. Correct.
Like everybody hear this, right? Oil and hydration are not the same thing. But before we get into all of that, let's also talk about I think a lot of times we treat the skin on our face differently. We pay attention to the skin on our face differently than the skin elsewhere on the body. So help us understand, is it all connected? Is it certain pieces? Like how do we wrap our head around the whole thing?
It's all connected. Skin is
Yeah.
skin. So this is another big teaching moment for a lot of my clients within my practice. Is we're always talking about stop ignoring your neck, your chest, your hands, and the rest of your body. If you are not taking care of all of your skin, it's going to show that. You're going to see cracking, dry skin on your body. And in particular, I see this mostly on the neck, chest, and hands for women because we're so fixated on everything above the jawline that we completely forget that the neck shows the most age. And I'm sure that we've all seen that woman that has that flawless, like beautiful skin. And we look at her neck and it's like, gosh, the neck doesn't fit the face. And that's a part of this conversation. Just as much focus as we're putting on that beautiful face, we need to be putting that on the entire body. SPF is the biggest important factor for maintaining skin health on our entire body. After moving down to Miami and literally getting color on my arms by just running around and just doing daily activities, I was shocked. So it was also a reminder to me that when you're out and about, regardless of where you live, you should be putting SPF on any areas of the body that are exposed. So that is going to be the key thing. You're going to put it on your face, you're going to put it on your neck, on your chest, your arms, and your hands, because these are the areas that are going to demonstrate accelerated aging if we're not protecting them and caring for them in the same way that we do for our face.
Yeah, and similar to that and kind of going to the all over the body thing, I've seen a lot with men and women actually, acne on their back
Yeah.
connected to gluten.
Hmm.
The dehydration showing up in like dry lips and cracked feet and a lot of this stuff where I think we just don't connect it all.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. We don't connect it, but it's so deeply connected. It's all skin, right?
Yeah, so you talked about like the anti-inflammatory nutrition, especially as it relates to acne. What else do we need to know? Or more specifically in there, where would you guide someone to start something small to make a big impact?
So, when we're talking about acne, the first place I will always start is water intake. That's going to be number one. The second place that I'm always going to go is the essential fatty acid intake. And that's really critical because that is going to manage the delicate balance of water and oil in the skin. For congested skin types that are prone to acne, they also are turning cells over at a much quicker pace. And so this individual needs to have a topical vitamin A product in the mix. So it's going to be water, it's going to be topical vitamin A, and it's going to be essential fatty acids, whether that's in a supplement form or it's by intaking fatty fish.
Awesome. And for some of you guys, you've heard us talk about omega 3s in a nutrition nugget. And the word essential, whenever that's included with something, it means that we have to take it or eat it, that our body cannot make it. That's why it is essential. It's essential for us to get through our nutrition or supplementation. Um, are there other so we talked about essential fatty acids and hydration and, focusing on the gut health, right? One of the best things one of my mentors talked about was how sort of our skin is like our gut turned inside out.
That's exactly right.
What other key things or nutrients might we want to make sure we're getting? Like, I know collagen is a big buzzword these days.
And collagen is, and that's definitely an important component of the conversation. But and recent data, and I think that's been the controversy around ingested collagen has been that there wasn't enough data indicating that it had a valuable purpose. But we now know that it does. And hydrolyzed collagen proteins are fantastic. They're building blocks, and everyone should use them for anti-aging purposes. There's still data that's coming out with regard to the efficacy and the importance of acne based treatments having collagen within the diet. I would say that we have to really focus the energy nutritionally on anti inflammatory products. So I would say things like mushroom extract would be
Mhm.
very important to integrate into the nutritional routine for any acne based treatment program, and green tea. Those are two other things that we really want to focus on. And then when we're talking about the gut, I think getting into balancing the gut by working with an integrative practitioner and getting a sense of what's actually going on in your gut. And from there, integrating pre and probiotics, I think that's also a powerhouse. So we have to reset quite a few things when we're talking about acne. So I think that you have to have a great skin therapist. And you have to have someone who's able to address the internal conditions as well and create the balance between the two.
Yeah, and the collagen also for aging as well, any other, um, ingredients or supplements or things, on the aging front?
On the aging front, it's going to also be focusing on skin immunity. So there are a couple of products that I would recommend, or rather ingredients, and that would be ingredients such as beta glucan, colostrum, and a stem cell based skincare product. The skin's immune system is very important to not just protecting the skin from losing water, but it also protects invaders from entering because the skin's immune system has these cells that are called Langerhans cells. And what happens is when there is any sort of disbalance in the skin, they retreat. That's why they're called chicken cells. And in their place, melanocytes, which produce pigment, come in to protect the skin. And this is one of the reasons why hyperpigmentation will also form when there's dysbiosis in that skin barrier. So I always recommend that you use a skin immunity skincare product. That's for anti aging, and that's also very powerful for acne and rosacea as well. And then for anti aging, we're always going to go back to the essentials. We're going to talk about essential fatty acids. We're going to be talking about hydration and then also stimulating the mitochondria. That's another big thing for anti aging. So we want to make sure that we're using a topical oxygenating skincare product. So whether that is a cleanser or it's a mask, or even better, an LED light mask, that is optimal for anti-aging, and it can also be applied to things like acne management because blue light therapy, as we know, has antibacterial and antimicrobial capacity. And that mitochondria, when we start talking about muscle health and longevity, the mitochondria is key. So I would definitely add that into the mix as well for anti-aging.
I love this, and I wanna dig into all of the topical things, but because you brought up the mitochondria, so everybody, mitochondria, right, going back to, like, 7th grade science, that's the energy, the powerhouse, as they say, of all of our cells. So, will you explain sort of the connection with, the mitochondria health and skin health?
On a very basic and fundamental level, mitochondria is responsible for cellular metabolism. And that is the nuts and bolts of how our cells function, how they replicate, and how they do their jobs. So the mitochondria is going to influence the structure and function of our cells. And that, when we talk about skin health, is incredibly important. If we are not addressing the mitochondria, we are not addressing at the root and making sure that that system is functioning properly, that it's not sluggish, right? If we think even about weight gain and general metabolism, right, overall, we have to make sure that that metabolism is functioning adequately in order to support that skin health. And so when we stimulate that mitochondria, and also in fitness, we see this, we're stimulating the development of mitochondria within the muscle cells. And that, through research, has been shown to increase longevity. So if we want that ageless skin, if we want to be aging healthfully over time, we need to address that structure and function of the cells, which is targeting the mitochondria.
Awesome. I love that explanation. And structure and function, restoring proper structure and function is key for everything related to health.
Yeah.
So awesome. We're going to shift to the outside stuff in a second. Quick break for a message from our partner for this episode, Snap Cleaning Products. Make household and industrial cleaning a snap with their eco-friendly, economical, multi-purpose Snap products. Snap's concentrated multi-purpose formulas perform light to industrial strength jobs all in one bottle. Snap products give you the cleaning power of a variety of cleaners while saving you time, money, and valuable storage space. And Snap products were developed with the environment in mind, using plant-based ingredients that are biodegradable, phosphate-free, non-toxic, and bottled in recyclable containers. Just like we're talking about today, right, with our skin health, everything that could potentially impact it are, detergents and things like that too, right? Topical irritants. We talked about our skin being this barrier and our skin's immune system. So I can't recommend Snap laundry detergent highly enough, and all of their products, but the laundry detergent in particular, especially as it relates to skin, because our clothes are on our skin. The laundry detergent is environmentally friendly, made with biodegradable, non-toxic, phosphate-free, and plant-based surfactants and essential oils. So what this means is it works in all temperatures of water, from delicate fabrics to, challenging, difficult to clean synthetic fabrics. And it works so well because it's made with enzymes. So it actually breaks down organic stains rather than just covering them up. Best part, one bottle costs $13.95, but does up to 80 loads of laundry. And if you have a front loading machine, it's even more than that because you need less detergent. So turns out it's pennies per load, cleaner and safer than other options on the market. To get 10% off, text the word CLEAN, CLEAN, to 844-947-4846. You'll receive the link and coupon code right to your phone. Again, simply text the word CLEAN to 844-947-4846. This is a toll-free number. Standard text and data rates may apply. Okay, Natasha. So skincare ingredients, I feel like, are the latest buzzwords. So how do we know what's real, what's nonsense? Like, what are the ingredients we're really looking for?
And it sounds like a simple question, but it
I
gets
know.
really complex really quick. So a big part of what we need to think about is, the individuality conversation. So the reason that's important is because although there are general ingredients in skincare products that are helpful to skin health and dealing with certain conditions, the actual percentage of active ingredients and how many of those different types of ingredients we need to integrate into our routine is going to vary tremendously from person to person. So there are a couple of things that I think we can address and say that as a general rule, we should look for these ingredients in skincare. One of those things would be niacinamide. I think niacinamide is one of those ingredients that is, even if you overdo it a bit, it's a water soluble ingredient. And so, therefore, it's not going to have as intensive effect as if you overdo something with exfoliators or vitamin A, right? So niacinamide is going to be acting on pore size. It's going to be smoothing the skin. It's going to be tightening those pores. It's going to be removing any uneven skin tone. It's also going to help with that key thing we've been talking about, which is hydration levels in the skin, because it's going to boost ceramides. And that is the one product that, regardless of what your skin condition may be, you should be using a niacinamide based product, whether that's a spritz toner, it's in a cream or a serum. That's a great product to have for a lifetime, I would say. The next would be definitely having a vitamin A product. Now, vitamin A gets very tricky because you have over the counter products and then you have the prescription grade products. When you are using a vitamin A, the form of the vitamin A, and creating a much more progressive approach to heightening the vitamin A concentration over time is really critical to protect your skin. If there's too much vitamin A, if the concentration is too high, it is probable that you're going to experience exfoliation, you're going to experience redness and irritation. That's all going to compromise the skin's immune barrier, and that's not something that we want to do. So that's something I would recommend. You sit, you talk to a skin therapist about, they do a thorough analysis, and then put you on a step up program for vitamin A topically. Do we need skin exfoliators? Yes. So this is the big conversation. This is always something that comes up. Now, the big problem I see with trends and over the counter products is that so many products are layered that all have exfoliating agents. So what
Hmm.
ends up happening is we're layering these products and they are over exfoliating the skin. And even though the first maybe week or two, the skin's looking fabulous, it's glowing, we're getting rid of all of that cellular debris. After that time period, we start to see the skin take a deep dive because the water levels have really gone down very much because of that overexfoliation. So when you're selecting products, yes, have an exfoliating agent in the mix, but make sure that you're doing it maybe once or twice a week. That should be the max to start with. Allow your skin to let you know if you need a little bit more of it. The other thing is always look at your ingredients. Take a look, take stock of everything you have in your cabinet and say, okay, I've realized that 4 of my 5 daily products actually have an exfoliating agent. So, how can I make some changes to ensure that I'm not stripping my skin of that necessary water, but I'm still allowing for healthy cell turnover?
I love this. So, other than products containing those porous beads or, exfoliants, how can we identify the exfoliating ingredients in products?
So anything that has an acid attached to it, that's what you want to look for. It's going to take a lot of different forms because there's so many different ingredients on the market that are exfoliators. So you'll always want to just look for anything on the label that has acid attached to it. And you'll know that it's going to have some sort of exfoliating capacity.
Even isn't hyaluronic acid hydrating?
Hyaluronic acid is hydrating, yes. It doesn't have exfoliating properties, so
Okay.
that would probably be the exception to
Okay.
the rule. Mhm.
Okay, cool. And we've been talking a lot about, bio individuality, that what each of us needs is different. So just because a skincare regimen works for our friend or this person on social media doesn't necessarily mean it's the right regimen for us. But the other side of that is, how do things evolve over our own lifetime, right? Like, what do we want to focus on in our 20s versus 30s, 40s, and on up?
So prevention is always gonna be key when we're talking about our 20s. So that means that going out and tanning in the sun actively is going to be the top thing. That's the top aging element. It is the sun. So in the 20s, I would say SPF is going to be a critical element to ensuring that you age well. The second thing to do in your 20s is start taking a collagen supplement after the age of 25. 25 is when cellular senescence begins, and that means that we are essentially beginning the aging process. And collagen production begins to take a deep dive in our 20s, our late 20s, and beyond. So we want to make sure that we're getting ahead of that game to age well. There are some thoughts about integrating things like Botox and neurotoxins into the mix and fillers. I have a mixed philosophy on that. I think for some people, it can be effective in micro units and micro doses. And if you are going to implement something like a neurotoxin into the mix, remember that it's going to actually cause the muscle to atrophy over time. So if you are doing that, you should be basically counteracting the loss of tone by doing something like microcurrent treatments. So, those to me are the important two things to stack. If in your 20s you have some deep lines, which some people do, it could be a genetic predisposition. The neurotoxin will do a great job with softening it up, but make sure that you're counteracting that potential for laxity over time due to the neurotoxin with microcurrent, which is helping to maintain that muscle tone. So I'd say 20s, we can stay focused on hydration, sun protection, collagen. Those are good go-tos for our 20s. Once we start getting into our 30s, now we're going to start getting into more of the anti-aging conversation. This is where I would say let's start integrating more of the stem cell products. We're going to be focusing a little more on ceramides. We're going to be focusing much more on antioxidants and really protecting that skin, and then hydration. So I think that from the 30s and beyond is going to be critical. And then treatments, focusing on things that are meant to boost muscle tone and integrity. And we talked about that in the beginning, right? Enzyme therapy based skin treatments, microcurrent treatments. If we do want to talk about celebrities, someone like Jennifer Aniston, for example, she does microcurrent on a consistent basis. She looks fantastic. This is one of the reasons why, because you have to keep those muscles healthy and stimulated. I think there's a misconception that if we're working on muscles, we're building the muscles, but we're not. We're just maintaining the tone. It's all about maintenance, right? And prevention. And so as we get to our 40s and 50s, this is where hormones begin to shift. And now we have to start thinking more about adaptogens and taking in a heavier nutritional focus as well as topical and keeping that hydration. So I think it evolves. Skin evolves,
Yep.
right? We're aging. We're constantly in that process of aging. There's nothing that can stop the aging process. It's just about putting it into slow motion. That's what we want to do with aging, slow mo, big time. And so we can do that by applying some of these topical and internal solutions.
I love it. So you mentioned microtherapy. Earlier, you talked a little bit about blue light for acne. I know there's red light
Mhm.
also, right? To talk us through some of these other topical things that maybe people might be less familiar with, but could certainly ask for.
Absolutely. So LED light therapy has been around for a very, very long time. It comes from research from NASA, and we were able to define that red light therapy helps wonderfully with anti-aging. Blue light therapy helps with acne, and it has antimicrobial and antibacterial properties, and it's stimulating the cellular infrastructure, right? We're getting right back down to that mitochondrial stimulation. So it's really helping the cells to function properly, and it's helping circulation, which is really critical. And I don't think that there's enough emphasis put on how important actual circulation of blood and lymph
Mhm.
is to skin health. So when we're doing things like topically, like LED light therapy, we're doing microcurrent therapy, and we're doing something which is very innovative, which is called enzyme therapy for the skin. These three treatments allow for those wonderful nutrients and all of that important oxygen to reach the skin everywhere on the body. And I think it's really important to integrate these three therapies into our anti aging routine. And some of these things we can do at home. So, LED light therapy, you have masks that you can purchase. Make sure it's a reputable provider and manufacturer because some of the lights that are out there do not have the proper amount of energy to actually instigate any sort of activity in the cellular matrix. When we're looking at microcurrent products, the same thing. Make sure that it's a great manufacturer who knows what they're doing. And that's stuff that you can do at home every night. You can do a 10-minute LED session. You can do microcurrent at home and deliver some of that stimulating electrical current to your muscles on a nightly basis. It's great for lifting the skin, toning the skin, but also working on that cellular health.
And what are we looking for? I mean, short of, or if you want to tell us a brand or short of a brand, like what are those metrics that we want to make sure?
So there are two brands that are tried and true in terms of LED light technology and microcurrent. So that would be the New Face, which I think a lot of people are familiar with. It's been on the market for a long time, and it's a really, really wonderful device for all of my clients that come in for regular microcurrent treatments. They all have a New Face device at home, and they use it on a daily basis. The other technology for LED would be the Omnilux. The Omnilux company is the one that actually develops our professional LED lights that you use in office. So it's probably one of the only companies that I would trust, and it's a full mask. What you have on the market a lot of is these little handheld devices where you have to kind of move it along the face. The issue with that is that you're getting an inconsistent amount of light therapy to different areas of the face, right? If it's not one mask that's covering the entire surface area and it's not the correct distance from the skin, it's not going to instigate any sort of cellular change. So I would say New Face and Omnilux would be my two top choices if we're talking about microcurrent or LED light therapy.
Ah, this is so good. And similar, what that made me think of as far as, people doing it at home and kind of doing it wrong.
Mhm.
Um, let's also talk about rollers. So there's ice rollers, jade rollers, dermal rolling. Like, walk us through it. Why do we do them? What are they offering? When do we choose each?
Okay. So there's a lot of chatter surrounding these like quartz rollers, the jade rollers. These rollers are phenomenal to use at home for lymphatic drainage. They're very critical. Now, in order for you to actually get some of the positive effects from these rollers, you should either have a practitioner that walks you through it. So, for example, I sit on a Zoom with each of my clients when they're starting either with a dermal roller or like a jade based roller, and I'll actually coach them through the entire process and we'll go through the sequence together. So, either that or getting like there are a lot of videos I think on YouTube that you could find that show you the entire sequence of how to use these rollers effectively. The big thing with the rollers is the amount of pressure. That's really important because the lymph system doesn't have its own ability to circulate and push through. It relies very much on the circulatory system to help it move along. And it has little valves within the lymphatic system. So if we push too hard, we actually reverse the flow of lymph and it doesn't drain. So we want to make sure that we're using the appropriate amount of pressure when we're using any of these tools and that we're actually draining it along the cervical chain of lymph. And you can find pictures of that online very easily to see how it kind of goes from the eyes around the front of the ear and then down the neck. And this should be the movement that you're using to help facilitate some of that drainage. In terms of dermal rollers, this is a big hot topic, and everyone's been going back and forth on this, especially during COVID. Derma rollers are a phenomenal tool for anti aging, but they must be used with care, and you must use a device that is either titanium or titanium and gold plated. It's really important that you're also with this type of treatment, you are using something that's not going beyond a certain depth and that your pressure is not too vigorous. Too many
Mhm.
people are taking these dermal rollers and they're going crazy, and they're bloody messes. That's not the point. You do not need to have pinpoint bleeding in order for the skin to absorb more of the product that you're putting on topically, or for you to get the anti-aging and collagen stimulating benefits of the dermal rollers. So that's another thing where if you're going to use that, you need to be trained by a skin therapist, and they should be taking you through the entire process. And with dermal rollers, you can also level up a bit with that, but that takes time. You should be leveling up over time progressively with the use of a dermal roller.
Yeah, this is so important. And I love how you described it last time we spoke too about that pressure being sort of like if you had a bowl of water and your fingertips were on the top of water, correct?
Yes. So breaking that surface tension, that's kind of how you want to gauge your pressure. You do not need a lot of pressure, whether it's a roller or it's a dermal roller. You want to maintain that light sort of pressure. And that's a good way to do it. You can put like a little sponge in there in a bowl of water, and just enough to slightly break that surface tension. That should be the amount of pressure that you're actually using when you're doing either of these treatments to yourself.
Awesome. So we've talked about a lot. Um, I guess, sort of summing it up, how do we balance the internal and the topical when it comes to our skin health and aging well?
So, balancing topical and internal, it's going to depend on a couple of factors. It's going to depend on genetic exploration. So, that's a big one for me because that has helped me understand a more precise path to creating that harmony within, right? And understanding what it is that we actually need to do both topically and internally for the individual. When we talk about topical application of product, we're also going to be thinking about things like skin condition. So, if you are someone who's considered genetically blessed and you just maybe have some fine lines and wrinkles and you're trying to maintain, you can do things like taking a collagen supplement and just continuing to protect the skin. But someone that has skin that's a bit more reactive. So, for example, someone whose gut is in a disbalanced state and they maybe have McDonald's or they drink a little too much over the weekend and their skin immediately shows those effects within a day or two, that's the person that's really going to have to focus very heavily on their diet. That's going to be a big one for this individual. Yes, topical is going to be important, but they may want to shift that percentage of focus more on the internal versus the external. So I would say that those would probably be my comments, my top comments for that.
Perfect. This has been incredibly enlightening. Anything we missed or you want to make sure we address?
I think we actually did a great job covering everything. Maybe stress. Stress is
Yes.
probably the one thing that we didn't touch on that's probably so relevant to everything that we've experienced as a nation and across the globe really is stress management, and that has a really significant impact on our aging and our skin health and skin conditions. So focusing energy on outlets, whether that's exercise, whether that's finding ways, innovative ways to socialize and connect with other people and stay grounded, whether that's, just laughing or connecting with someone on Zoom or doing breathing exercises, whatever we need to bring into the mix to help reduce some of those stress levels, that's really critical for our aging.
Awesome. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, so important for everything. Incredible. Okay, so this means it is now time for our short list of rapid fire off topic questions I ask every expert who joins us. Are you ready?
All right, let's do it.
Okay. What's the best thing you've done for your health this week? And what's the naughtiest thing you've done related to your health this week?
Ooh, so bad. Okay. So I had some really delicious hemp cookies that probably had a little too much sugar in there this week. I will say that I limited it to one, but we know that sugar is a killer and it's a pro aging factor. So that's probably the worst thing I've done this week. The best thing is that I created a new chaga tea based collagen chai for myself. So that was my good positive self-care thing this week.
Nice. If you weren't an RN and skin health expert, what would you do?
I would design cars. I love cars, and I think that they are so incredibly beautiful, and that would definitely be what I would do.
I love that. I grew up outside of Detroit, so I get the car
Nice.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, your favorite book on any topic other than your area of expertise. It could be fiction too.
Oh, that's a tough one. I would say that my favorite book. Oh, this is a rough one. Hold on, because I'm always reading about my topic of interest and my passion. So I very rarely read these types of books. I'd have to go back to a classic, something that I don't even know if we read anymore, but it's a book called 1984.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a really interesting one, and I reread it fairly recently, and I thought it was a very interesting parallel to some of the things that have been going on across the globe. So, yeah, I would say that would be my read.
Good one. If you could cure one ailment, disease, or sickness, what would it be?
It would probably be acne. Acne is a really big one, and over the course of my career, I've seen how it has destroyed people's self confidence, and it's very unfortunate. And if I could just find one way, one elixir to make that go away, that would be it.
If you were a superhero, what would be your superpower?
Ooh, that's a good one, Jen. You're killing me today. Hold on, let me think about that. Um, hmm. My superpower would be to impart empathy on people. I find that in today's day and age, we've lost that reflex. And I think that that would be the thing I would impart on people. That would be my superpower, making people more empathetic.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve, toilet paper roll. It should be it should be coming over the top, not from the bottom.
I agree with you. Okay, finally, in your opinion, what's the next frontier in wellness?
The next frontier in wellness is definitely integrating AI into how we age, how well we age, and really propelling forward the precision medicine conversation. That would definitely be it for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being here. Tell everybody how to connect with you and learn more about everything you're up to.
Absolutely. I really appreciate all of the listeners today. I appreciate the opportunity to chat a little bit about me. If you'd like to learn more about what I do, you can visit my website at modernskin.com, and that's modrnskn.com. Same thing for Instagram. I'll be posting some fun stuff on Pinterest as well coming soon. And you can also email me at modernskin@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Just appreciate your time and sharing all your expertise with us. And that brings us to our nutrition nugget. This week, we're talking about spinach. And you're like, what? Isn't that healthy? So I got you. So, why do we want to eat spinach, right? We hear about it. Why do we want it? So, spinach is an incredibly nutrient dense food. When we talk about spinach, most nutrition facts, when we talk about anything really, most nutrition facts are based on like 100 grams, like that serving size. So, for spinach, that's like a little over 3 cups, like 3 1/3 cups of spinach is 100 grams. And that gives us about 2.9 grams of protein and 2.2 grams of fiber and only about 23 calories. So this is a lot of nutrition for the calorie buck, if you want to say, right? A big bang for the buck. And if you're with us often, you know we're big fans of fiber and fiber from our veggies and our fruit. So the fiber in spinach is insoluble, which means it doesn't dissolve in water. It helps clean our intestines, as does all fiber. But it also keeps us satisfied longer. It helps fill us up. It keeps our bowels regular, supports our blood sugar management. So this is awesome. And spinach also offers us a number of other nutrients. So let's look at these for a second. Um, Spinach contains carotenoids, which our body generally turns into vitamin A, which is a major factor in our immune health. It's a component in lymphocytes or white blood cells, which fight disease, right? That's our immune system. And we talked about vitamin A for our skin health on this week's episode. Spinach is also high in vitamin C, which also supports immune function and skin health. Specifically, spinach helps to protect the skin from harmful, I can't speak, harmful ultraviolet radiation from the sun, right? Those UV rays from the sun. And I'll come back to this um, in a second. But these vitamins promote the healing of the skin, prevent premature aging, potentially prevent skin cancer and other, skin disorders that are caused by the sun. Vitamin K1 is pretty high in spinach, which is an essential nutrient for blood clotting. And we get vitamin B9, also called folic acid or folate, which is important for cellular function, tissue growth. So great for pregnant women. And also note stress depletes our B vitamins really quickly. So eat your spinach, right? And most of us remember Popeye, right? Who ate tons of spinach because of its iron and calcium. So iron helps create hemoglobin. So you think about the oxygen that's getting into our body's tissues and the calcium, which we know is essential for both um, bone health and our nervous system and our heart and our muscles and all the things. Spinach also contains minerals like potassium, magnesium, and vitamins B6 and 9, vitamin E. And then there are these plant compounds. And these plant compounds are really interesting. So lutein and zeaxanthin are plant compounds that in particular support eye health. So they actually help protect the eye from damage caused by sunlight. If you followed my articles on Thrive Global and Medium and some of these other places, even I've done some podcast interviews about it, the connection to blue light on our eyes. So lutein and zeaxanthin are incredible for that. And several studies actually point to zeaxanthin and lutein preventing macular degeneration and cataracts. So really interesting. They can potentially also reverse existing damage. So that's powerful if you're already experiencing some of these conditions. There's another antioxidant, and I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong, but it's called like camphorol. And this may decrease cancer and chronic disease and decrease chronic disease risk. So on the cancer front, I think it's potentially, because of the antioxidant properties, there's evidence connecting spinach and cancer prevention. And two compounds in spinach, MGDG and SQDG, were studied. One study showed that these two compounds in spinach slowed tumor growth on a person's cervix and decreased the size of the tumor. Several studies connect spinach to reduce risk of prostate cancer and potentially breast cancer. And there was an animal study that indicated spinach might suppress cancer formation as well. So really cool science happening. There's another antioxidant called again, I can't say it right, quercetin. It's an antioxidant that, again, is fight inflammation in the body. So with all these antioxidants, right, what we're getting with spinach is fighting oxidative stress, fighting the overrun of free radicals in the body which leads to inflammation. And the source of all symptoms, disease, and illness is inflammation. So you can also go back to our nutrition nugget on antioxidants for more on this. Um, so actually, one more study, because I couldn't let this one go because I think it's really cool. There's a study that links spinach to helping prevent dementia because of these antioxidants as well. That participants who ate high levels of leafy greens like spinach were found to be 11 years younger in brain age than those who ate low levels of greens. So finally, spinach also contains nitrates, and there's evidence that spinach may help help moderate blood pressure levels and decrease your risk of heart disease because of these nitrates. Now, we're talking about this because some of you may have heard that you want to stay away from spinach. So, what's the deal with that? And most people are fine eating spinach and fine eating spinach even every day. The challenges come in specific situations or if you are eating excessive quantities of spinach every single day. So, spinach contains oxalic acid, which binds to minerals like magnesium, calcium, and zinc. So, it means that if we have too much spinach, if we have an overrun of oxalic acid, it's going to bind to these minerals and we're not going to be able to absorb them. So it could lead to deficiencies in these minerals and potentially contribute to kidney stones, gout, or other inflammatory conditions. So if you're prone to kidney stones or you have these inflammatory conditions, you may want to watch your spinach intake. Vitamin K1 in excessive amounts can interfere with blood thinner meds. So if you're on one, you've likely been told to stay away from spinach. And remember, that's K1. If you recall, when we talked about vitamin D, we talked about K2. That is different. So just a reminder there. Other things to remember is with any high fiber food, too much can create some gastrointestinal upset. So you may have gas, bloating, cramps if you're eating really excessive amounts all the time. And then, of course, if you're allergic to it, don't eat it, right? So just to repeat it so that we're clear, other than the case of allergy or contraindications with medications, most of us are fine eating spinach. It's really these things come in when we're eating excessive amounts every day. So, assuming you're not allergic, how can we add more spinach to our repertoire, right? So, first, mix up your salad greens. You could replace them, entirely with spinach or just mix spinach into it so that it makes it a little more interesting, ups your fiber quotient a little bit. And you could throw them into an omelet. You could use spinach to line your dinner plate. So that just gives you a little bit of extra greens, more fiber. And what's really cool about spinach actually is that the flavor totally disappears when you blend it with other foods. The color doesn't disappear. So it's going to make everything green, but the flavor disappears. So St. Patrick's Day was just here, right? You could make green mashed potatoes, green pasta, green pancakes, or waffles, just blending it into the mix. Your kids are never going to taste it. It's going to make them fun in a different color. And you're adding in those extra vitamins and minerals and nutrients and all the good stuff. Of course, as we've discussed before, we don't want all of our foods blended, but it can be fun to just sneak in those extra veggies and get us a little more spinach. And I will say personally, I don't love cooked spinach. I think it's like a texture thing. A little bit is fine, but a ton of like a giant bowl of steamed spinach is not my favorite. So if it's not your favorite too, that's okay. It doesn't have to be, right? Consider though, how to add it in. So maybe having it raw or just lightly cooked. Like I'll throw spinach into something hot and then it just sort of wilts a little bit and I'm totally fine. So that actually brings up two things that I want to address before we wrap this up. The first is creamed spinach. So creamed spinach not the same as spinach. Most recipes for cream spinach have a lot of fat and dairy and actually not that much spinach. So that's why this week for our members, I'm sending you a healthier cream spinach recipe that actually uses Greek yogurt to make it creamy. And then the second thing is some of you may have heard that cooking spinach changes the nutrition. So I want to clear this up. So both fresh and cooked spinach contain the same amounts of our macronutrients, the protein, carbs, and fat. Some nutrients are more available to the body when consumed raw. That's like folate, vitamin C, niacin, riboflavin, potassium. At the same time, though, cooking spinach can break down that oxalic acid, which is the element in the spinach that binds to those minerals that we talked about before. So there are nutrients like vitamin A and E, some of the protein, zinc, thiamine, and iron that are actually more bioavailable or better for our body to absorb when the spinach is heated. So if you're in the population that needs to be careful with quantities of spinach, remember cooked spinach is deceptive. So it takes about a pound of raw spinach to get to 1 cup of cooked spinach. So keep that in mind. But all around, good news if you like it cooked or raw, it's all good. So key takeaway, eat your spinach, some raw, some cooked. You can even eat it every day as long as you're not eating pounds of it every day. Or if you have a condition where you're advised against it. So be like Popeye, who says, I'm strong to the finish because I eat my spinach, right? I did his voice terribly, but you know what I mean. So as always, guys, I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck. Connect with me on Instagram at Jenn Trepeck, JennTrepeck. And it's that handle on all the platforms. So please, this is your personal invitation. Send me a message with your key takeaways, ideas, questions. If you have an idea for a nutrition nugget, please send it our way. Plus, this is also the best way to learn more about working with me directly. Of course, if you're not already, join our membership program by going to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries to show your support for this podcast, this community, and most importantly, your health. This week, you're getting the spicy Moroccan chickpea and lentil soup recipe, the healthier cream spinach recipe, and the link to your one-on-one session with me. So until next week, remember, beauty is not just skin deep. Focus on healthful aging from the inside out, realizing that our skin is a manifestation of all that's happening on the inside. And my friend, we will see you next week. Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform. Share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it, and you are worth it. Happy healthy.